to the Khmer Times broadcast program. I am Srila, bringing you to the contents of the business forum held today on 26 November at Raffle Le Royal Hotel in Phnom Penh under the theme of supporting the small and medium-sized enterprise businesses in Cambodia. And the function is jointly organized by the Maybank Cambodia and Credit Guarantee Corporation of Cambodia in order to support the Cambodian government and focus on increasing support and facilitation for the SME segment, particularly as Cambodia is making concerted efforts for economy recovery from the challenging period caused by the COVID pandemic.
Actually, you've been involved in the banking for more than 20 years. Could you share with us what are the common capital needs for an SME business? And I'll put one more question. What are the main challenges for this business?
Okay, thank you, Excellency. Now, based on my experience when it comes to entrepreneurs, there are several segments of SMEs, right? You have the startups, the new businesses. You have those businesses that are in the growth period, and of course the ones that are more established. So different types of SMEs would have their different challenges in terms of their financial needs. And when, of course, one of the main challenge that businesses have is that they need to have enough capital in terms of capex, and as the business starts to grow, they would need some working capital for their business to operate. So as I mentioned just now during my opening speech, one of the problems that SMEs have is actually providing collateral to their loans. FIs, when they want to lend the SMEs, they usually require to provide collateral. So collateral it's a problem for SMEs because, as I mentioned, businesses they think about growing their business. It's not so much about growing assets so that they can pledge to the bank, to get more loans. So I think in that area, I think collateral is one of the issues that businesses have, because if they cannot borrow money, they cannot expand their business. Yeah. So that's how I see it. Yeah.
So, okay. So it comes to Mr. Ratsapan. From an international bank perspective, can you share with us what are the challenges faced by SME to access the financing?
Thank you, His Excellency, for the questions. Probably before I get into what are the challenges that SME in Cambodia have been facing, probably let's go back to the basic principle of lending. From both as a conventional commercial bank as well as from the international bank perspective, I think in terms of the general rule of lending, it should not be, I think most of people in this room probably is aware of it, the 5C part. The capacity, it's very important. Bank look at the ability of the borrowing. One is to repay, and the ability to manage the business, and ability in terms of managing the asset as well as debt as well. That's very important. The second part is the capital level of the business as well. How much borrower have invested in their business. The more they have invested, it demonstrate the seriousness of the business as well. Another point is important is the character of the borrower as well. We want bank want to know, who the borrower is, the backgrounds, and all of these things. Because at the end of this, we want to lend to the credible borrower. The other part is condition of the business as well, whether this is a sunsetting industry, a growing industry, and what are the future plans of this business. And the last part is the collateral as well, something that KL Wong has spoken, and this is something that we are addressing this part, the collateral. But from the international bank perspective, probably all come down to 2 points as a responsible lender. What I mean by responsible lender is that we want to make sure that the repayment capacity is critical, because we want all parties involved to succeed. When there is an issue, which means one party fail, and this is something that the bank, especially international bank like us, would like to avoid. Okay, that's why sometimes when we ask a lot of questions to client will say, "Why you ask me a lot of questions?" Because my security is value, let's say $1 million, but I am only asking for $500,000 from you. But our response is, we are not security-based lending bank. Another point that we look at it as well as an international bank is whether our financing contribute to the positive impact to society or not. We are not lending to industry that will damage the environment, that will negatively impact the society. So that's probably, it's even more important for international bank like us. Come back to the challenges faced by the SME in Cambodia. As KL Wong mentioned earlier, probably one of the challenges we face is the informality of the business itself. Based on our experience, many not register, right? That's number one. Number two is that the absence of basic bookkeeping, financial statements, and in many cases, their finance is co-mingled between business and personal. So it makes lender very hard to assess the financial strength of the company. The other part is heavily cash-based transactions, and probably not access to the latest technology, which in overall probably does not make the company itself that efficient, right? And because of all of this, it makes them very difficult to access to financing. And as such, SME have resorted to informal lendings, which charge very, very expensive rate. So that's the challenge. So that's why when we discuss with ETCC on a partnership, we look at two parts. One is the financing without collateral, and second part is building the competency and capability as well, so that gradually the SME enterprises or businesses prepare themselves for a longer term of the business. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you, Excellency, Moderator. I think it's SME in Cambodia is play important role. Is like we say, the backbone of the economy. So we can say is a lot of SME is like unofficial. It means they are not registering. So for the registration, tax registration, it means in this context, is in this circumstance, it's not mean related to tax collection. It in formalize of the SME, and then it look like we give the birth certificate of the SME to officially, then he can like When he go anywhere, he goes, for example, when you go to the bank, and then the bank will ask, where you coming from? And then you say, I'm this business operation. But how to identify your nature or status, something like that. And then we need all the SME to register. Thank you.
Thank you. So this means that all SME business must be registered. So.
Yes, we encourage those business or SME should register. Very important for them, also for the government, or how to collect the revenue as well. And then it's easy to get the support fund or get to access to finance. For example, it's like he go to Maybank or he go to CGC to need the guarantee, and then if you don't register, how the CGC can do it? How the Maybank bank can allow them to borrow the money? And we need the certificate, we need anything from recognized from Ministry of Commerce, or at least from so far it's from Ministry of Handicrafts, something like this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Now it comes to Mr. Wong KL again. COVID-19 has a huge impact to the economy. Some SME were affected and have closed their business, while some managed to survive and continue to grow. What are the key strategies with SME should adapt to get the business afloat?
I believe that I think all over the world during this pandemic period, many businesses were affected, many closed down. And as we know that most countries are now opening up and economies are starting to open, I believe one of the challenges for SMEs would be, really to start and, what are they going to do? And, this pandemic is not going to go away. So I think one of the strategies I would say that for businesses, I think they got to manage their cost. Yeah, I think cost is the one of the key things that they need to manage. They got to take hold of their cost and to ensure that they'll be able to sustain. And then of course the other area is looking into their revenue streams. Revenue streams as in how do they increase their sales. So looking for several sales channels is important. And I think in country like Cambodia, besides Phnom Penh, if you go to the outskirts of Cambodia, I think payment systems are important. If you do business just by cash, I think that's going to be a limitation to your business. So one thing I know that in Cambodia, the digital acceptance in Cambodia is very high. And the digitalization of the QR Pay and the Bakong really helps these businesses to be able to do business through social media. For instance, they can take orders and they can do delivery and they get payment. So that is a good infrastructure for them to be able to expand their business, their reach. They'll be able to sell beyond their boundaries, and with some of these new technologies that we have, and that definitely helps the SMEs to quickly, get their revenues in, unlike, the times, when, it was very much a lot of face-to-face, So I think with the pandemic, digitalization is something that has improved a lot, and it definitely helps a lot of businesses. So I think the digitalization is one way to actually improve their sales channel, their payment infrastructure. That really helps the businesses, and I think that's important for businesses to strive, especially during this period. Yeah, thank you.
Share us, that COVID-19 have changed the behavior of customers. Then could you share with the change and the evolution of the digital payment program?
Thank you, Excellencies, and good afternoon to panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, when we look at the Cambodia economy, people will think that it is like a cash, mainly cash economy, but then we start to develop it, we start to adopt it digital, to move to digital economy since before the COVID-19. But because of the COVID-19, the way that we adopted the digital ways is more faster. We have never thought of that, but it do exist on this. In that case, it also been the ability to adapt faster also been supporting from the regulation that has been developed by the National Bank of Cambodia, as well as the supporting from other ministry and institution on the infrastructures of the telecommunication and technologies. If you look at the landscape of the payments system or digital process, how does it move within this 1 year? If I look at the data from this quarter compared to the previous quarter, this semester compared to the previous semester, we can see that the volumes of internet banking transaction has increased 30% to 6.6 billion, while the volumes of the mobile banking has increased almost double to 47 billion. In addition to that, if you look at on the e-wallet account, we can see that the e-wallet account has increased even much more than a double. It's like a 70% to 11.7 millions, while the transaction volume has increased from 19 billion to 24 billion. So we can see that the amount of transaction is quite huge within the countries. In that case, as Mr. Wong mentioned, the QR code payment has become more and more popularities with the transaction volumes up to 111 increasing compared to the previous semesters. So we can see the adopting of the digital is very fast in Cambodia. In addition to that, we also based on, this is the real data, but also there's a study conduct by different source. One is from the visa in 2018. So based on the visa, the Cambodian population, 1/3 of the Cambodian population are willing to adopt digital banking soon. And also on other research has demonstrated that around 54% of the Cambodian population think that Cambodian will move very fast to the cashless economy. So in conclusion, we can see that we have an optimistic futures of a digital payment in Cambodia. Thank you.
Could you please elaborate on this? How do you foresee the digital payment landscape in Cambodia in the future?
Actually, when I think there's so many articles talking about the digital payment landscape in Cambodia, I think one of the hot topic today is about the Bakong apps. So Bakong app has been produced to help for interbank payments. So before, it is very difficult to transfer from one bank to another bank. So we had to withdraw money from one bank and carry out to another bank. So this is more risky as well. So with Bakong, we don't need to take out the money, but we just transfer within 1 minute, I think. So then we can see money moving from one account to another account. In addition, it's not just to supporting this, but also supporting to make sure that the money has been used objectively, mean that we can transfer money to any institution or to any company that we would like to use for the money for that purpose. I think we have introduced the video as well on our financial literacies on importance of using QR code as well as the Bakong. Thank you.
Okay, I don't want to go away from MDC. One more question is about the overview of the overall loan portfolios during the last 10 months. Share with us.
If you look at the loan overview, I think we can look further, just not within the 10 months, but looking beyond that. Actually, if you look at the credit growth in Cambodia, so the credit growth is quite fast in year 2014 and 15, which is around 30% growth. I'm talking about the total banking system. But then the IMF said that the growth is quite fast compared to the GDP growth. So with our regulation we has been taken in place, the growth has been declined to around 30 and then moved to 25 and then moved to 20. And last year, because of the COVID, the credit growth was around 17%. In that case, but because of the adoption of the new living with the COVID, and then we started going back to the normal, the credit growth in the last quarter of this month, which is by third quarter of this year, can see that the growth is around 22%. 22%. So the total in cash is around 44 billion. So this is the growth in overall. But regarding to SME, the embassy does not collect information yet because we mentioned the credit to different sectors, mostly to a wholesale trade, to retail trade, and to other sectors such as household, personal consumption, and construction. However, if you look at the data from the CBC, so CBC captured two types of data. One is consumer's loan, one is commercial loan. So consumer's loan cover around 80% of the total loan portfolios in the banking system. So if I look at only the consumer's loan, so Credit Bureau has one category of the loan, okay, a small business loan. So if you look on this, it shows that around 68% of the loan to the total consumer's loan is provided for the purpose of small business. So it's quite large. If you look at the amount on that, we can see that around 25 billion has been provided to the small business purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone talking about the new normal. Then discussion to Mr. Naysakol. What is the strategies for business recovery and sustainability for the next normal? Could you share with us?
Thank you again, Excellency. I think for the new normal is like Khmer word we say is Rona Knong Konlong Thmai. For supporting the SME or to recover our business, then the government have the important thing about this one or significant thing about this one. Like for example, we have the like for financing support, like we have the SME bank. Like we have last time we inject 100 million for support the SME, and second we inject one more 100. So far we have 200. Is for this one we call the co-finance with some MFI that participate in this scheme. That is one important thing. And so to support of those like the activity like our SME, then we also have the CGCC that we just Mr. Long is CEO just informing this early, and we set up in last year. Then it's also played important role for supporting the SME like they don't have or they not enough collateral, and then CGCC will be jump in and then help the SME to get more money to operating the business. And this is the key important that the government to already thinking already is did it for the supporting the SME for the normal way. Thank you.
Thank you. Pertaining to this, his comment, Mr. Sakol's comment about this, how can the SME access to the scheme and what benefit?
Okay.
Mr. Long.
Yeah, thank you, Excellency. The CGCC has launched its first guarantee scheme, which is as what Mr. Sakal has mentioned, the Business Recovery Guarantee Scheme. We call it Business Recovery Guarantee Scheme. It's in short BRGS, and it was launched on the 29th March 2021. The fund size, or rather the scheme size for this BRGS is $200 million. And it is to provide guarantees to businesses. And we don't only provide guarantees to SMEs, we also cover large firms. Now the BRGS, the definition for SMEs is as long as you are having a turnover, a yearly turnover of 1 million and below, or your number of employees is less than 100, you are considered an SME. If you are beyond that, we consider you as a large firm. However, we still do provide our guarantees for all businesses. Yeah. Now, of course, for the larger firms, the guarantee amounts that we can provide for working capital or business expansion is more as compared to SMEs. So, for instance, like SMEs, working capital is a maximum of 300,000, and if you need business expansion, it's a maximum of 500,000. So the scheme we have all sectors we cover. The government has given us a list of priority sectors, which is the agriculture, the industry, and the service sectors. These are the priority sectors where we provide 80% cover for the loans that are given to these priority sectors. And the non-priority sectors are all other sectors that are not priority. And we give a cover of 70%. And yeah, so what we are saying is that the scheme covers all sectors. And as just now, as Mr. Saka has mentioned, we also allow businesses that are not registered now, they are also eligible for the scheme. But of course, we want to encourage businesses to be registered. So what happens is that if you don't register the next year or subsequent year, then we charge you a minimal fee addition. So it's more of a carrot for you to encourage you businesses to be registered. And we in CGCC we accept all formal type of registration for businesses. It could be with MOC, it could be with GDT or any of the ministries, or even at the provincial offices, as long as you have some form of registration. So we encourage that. Other than that, the BRGS, we also have come up with the co-financing guarantee scheme. This is our second scheme that we came up with. And why we came up with this co-financing guarantee scheme was to be aligned with the government's aspiration to address the high cost of borrowing, and that's why MEF has actually given money to SME Bank to lend out at a low rate, which is at 6.5% or 7.5% interest rate. And we came up with this co-financing guarantee scheme to supplement this SME Bank's co-financing scheme, where they can provide low costs of borrowing while we support the SMEs in terms of the collateral piece. So we came up with this scheme to support the MEF intentions.